Welcome back to the Blocks Retro Repair YouTube channel. Today we're back on the 55 Studebaker. We need to make some floor pans for this thing because they're pretty bad. Previously, we repaired the rust in that little footwell and all four body to frame mounts. Now we need to repair the actual footwells in the front, or floor pans. Then we can move on cutting out the seat mounts and replacing all of that. But first, let's replace this spot right here. Now the issue is the original floor pans had a lot of bends in them. It bend down right here, it bend down to go to this bolt, it bend down to touch this frame rail, it bend those down through there. Basically, they just help make the thing more rigid instead of just a floppy flat piece of steel. The issue is creating those bends. I could buy floor pans for this, but most of the floor pans I see for these are not made correctly. They just kind of crease the metal to give you enough rigidity, but it doesn't match the original. And the only ones I saw that do match the original are one, very expensive, and two, replace the entire section of floor. I don't want to replace all of the floor in here. I'm not doing that much work to this thing. And here's our two floor pans. I went ahead and drew the design that we need to bend on these, so let's get bending. And I went over to my grandfather so we could borrow his 20-ton shop press, and we're going to use this and a whole bunch of scrap steel to hopefully bend this design into our plate of metal. I don't know how well this is going to work, but let's get bending. Having to do some really interesting pivots to get some of these to bend because the shop press wouldn't actually fit my piece of steel correctly. It also took some hammer whacking to make the stuff flat again after the bending because it always liked to crane to the when you did the bending. Tried to prevent that from happening with random pieces of metal to help flatten it back out while I was bending it, but this sometimes worked really well and sometimes did not. And again, more hammer whacking to get those creases perfect, especially in this middle section here. I really had to do some pounding because I didn't exactly have perfect scrap pieces shaped like this. But once we are finished, we have this beautiful looking floor pan. Just have to do that again, but as you can see, there's a big difference in the rigidity of these sheets. And there we are. We have our two floor pans. As you can see, they're the same, just mirrored from each other, and I think they turned out really, really well. Now, I left them a little bit large every direction so I can cut them down to size when I actually go to install them in here, because I wasn't sure how the metal would shrink as I pulled metal all sorts of different directions. We're gonna have to cut it down to size, cut out some extra bits here that I'm not actually planning on replacing, get this thing slotted in fully, but I think this is gonna line up really damn well once we get the stuff off so we can slide it over just a little bit more. All this stuff will start lining up, and I think this is actually gonna work really well, and I really like how well this turned out. Now what we're gonna do is figure out exactly where this piece is going to fit and figure out what we want to cut off the floor and what we want to cut off our panel. So let's get marking, I guess. Done some rough marking. We're going to cut off this section, but right before where the actual gas pedal mounts, because that's still nice and solid, and I don't want to have to replace those riveted nuts and all that fun stuff, so we're going to cut off right along this line here, and then I got to figure out how much of this I want to cut out, and we're going to cut out this section down through here. We'll have to patch this underfloor section right here before we go any further of actually welding this panel in, but we need to cut out all the stuff that we need to cut out to put this panel in, figure out what needs patched on the body support, and get this thing welded in. Basically, we're cutting out as much of this as we can to replace with the new sheet because, well, the new sheet's less rusty. So we're going to cut out that section right there that I have marked. You can see the anti-creep solenoid. I never did check to see if that works. Most of the wires are cut in this car, so, well, more like chewed through. They're not exactly cut. Whenever we go to fully rewire the car, I guess we'll find out if that works. But let's get this section cut out here and figure out what else we need to cut out and bend to get our new piece of metal in here. And there we go. As we're welding this in, we should be able to mold this to the correct shape. So now we just need to fix that panel, which is just a reinforced panel to help hold the seat in place. And then, hopefully, we'll be able to get this stuff welded in, and this side will be done. There we go. Got this all welded up and cleaned up. We're going to get this thing metal etched and rust converted, and then we're going to get this painted as well. That's all painted up. The underside of the actual floor pan has also been painted, so once this dries a little bit more, gets it a little bit tacky, we'll throw that metal pan in here and get that welded up. In the meantime, let's start getting that side cut out. The side has been cut and bent to shape. I'll have to make a little patch panel right there where I had to cut out a bit more rust going up, but there is our massive hole. I'll also have to unbolt that and pull out the stuff underneath that, the bit of metal. Pull the bolt out on that side so we can properly bolt the floor pan down as well. Now we need to repair this rust on this little support right here, just like we did on the other side. Get it all rust converted and then painted. It has been repaired, so we're going to get the rust converter, rust convert this on the top of this frame rail and the inlet tube for this cabin heater. well, the part that I can reach here, and then we're going to paint all that, everything I can see right here. Get all this done. Once that dries, we'll weld on our new sheet of metal. Unfortunately, I'm probably not going to have time to do that today, but we'll maybe at least tack that side in partially. What I'm doing is I am taking a flat screwdriver like this basically and just angling it to push this down just to get everything properly lined up, get everything even, putting tacks, and we're just going to tack all the way around this floor pan before we do any major welding. Then once everything's lined up, we'll weld everything into place. I ended up having to cut some of my tack welds because I forgot to drill that hole to mount the bolt there that goes through the floor pan into the body support right there. Of course I missed, which is what that weld spot is. So let's drill, no, it's already drilled. Let's put that bolt in and then we can get back to tacking this in. It is fully tacked in all around. Now over the next few evenings I'm going to have to slowly weld this together. I'm not a very good welder, so it takes me quite a long time. So over the next few evenings I'll hopefully get this thing fully welded in. Same with the one over there, which hasn't even been tacked in yet. But once this is all welded in, then we can cut out this section right here and replace it. I haven't done that yet because I didn't want to completely destroy the rigidity of this section here and fold the car in half. But once this is all welded in, we should have plenty of strength to cut out the rest of this. But considering we made these floor pans with pretty rudimentary stuff, a few hammers, a bunch of scrap steel, and a 20-ton shop press, I'd say that turned out really damn well. But just like that, we have what should be our new floor pans. That looks absolutely incredible. If you like what you saw, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. If you want to see more of this 1955 Studebaker or any of my other content, go ahead and check that out. But for now, I'll see you next week.